it's well documented my beliefs on how we conduct ourselves on behalf of myself, the team and the club, and we generally don't question events that happen in the game. We're happy for referees to deal with them events and to speak about the game. And it's a shame on this occasion because I'd like to speak about the game because I thought we were excellent and got an excellent point down at a place that is incredibly tough with a fantastic manager, fantastic group of players and a fantastic club. I mentioned that after the game. On this occasion, I feel it's gone a bit too far, so I think we should give a balanced view retrospectively with the evidence that we've got and the evidence that we can show. And my opinion, of course, I stated afterwards in the media that I hadn't seen it. We take one analyst away to games, so there was nothing in it. We take one analyst away to games. He didn't have time to get down to the dressing room, which you know how difficult that can be after a game. I commended the players on their performance. Then I went straight out with yourself to get on with the media and did it as quickly as I could. I hadn't seen all the key incidents again. Of course, I now have.
Well, let's go through those incidents. I mean, there were 4 brought up at the weekend. The first one, I think, was the 30th minute, which was a clash between Ivanovic and Barnes on the touchline. Yeah,
a lot was made of that. They felt that that player should not be on the field of play at half-time. Having seen the evidence and my view at the moment, first of all, my view at the moment when it occurred, I think the referee's got a similar position-ish to my angle. It looks like he's running across to try and make a challenge. He bundles into the player, it's fair to say. I certainly can't imagine that to be deemed anything more than, if at most, a yellow card, I would imagine, because he's slightly late and slightly high with his leg. It's the kind of body shape that goalkeepers take when they go and receive a ball in the air to protect their own bodies. Similar to that. Worst case scenario, in my personal opinion, and having seen it, would be a yellow card. Certainly almost impossible, I would imagine, in my opinion, to be a red card.
The second incident followed soon afterwards, which was the first penalty appeal. That was the handball against Matt O'Carley.
Well, the first thing yet again, so it's an interesting one because a lot of these things are shown retrospectively and we understand why, the amazing technology we've got, and yet, bizarrely, the thing that wasn't picked up is it actually hits him on his thigh first. It cannons off his thigh onto his arm. Now, for the referee to see that would be incredible, of course, with his own eyes. But when you see it slowed down in HD, as we all do now, then it clearly cannons off his thigh and onto his arm. That being said, usually you would expect that to be given. Just because of the spread in the box, the nature of that. He's not actually looking at the ball. The ball is coming at very high pace, but usually you would think that that one gets given.
The incident that followed just before half-time was another penalty appeal, this time Jason Shackle and the shove, for want of a better term, on Diego Costa.
Tough one. Personally, I think that's one, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't for the referee. I think it's a close one. I think he's cutting in. I think he's a big fella, and I mentioned before the game how well he's doing this season, despite all the furore. He cuts in. Jason Shackle definitely gets a mild hand on him. Is that enough for him to go down? Then it's a real debate point. I think that's a close one. The first one, I think, usually gets given. That one is a real tough one for referees. He's off balance anyway as he cuts in. On his left foot, he gets a slight nudge and he goes down. Not remotely, I must make it clear, I'm saying he goes down easily or trying to simulate. I just mean it's a mild contact, which inevitably he ends up on the floor. I think that's a real tough one in lifetime, and even looking at it back, I think it's still a tough one. Particularly, you've got to consider the referee's actual angle of approach to see that incident. You know, with 15 different camera views, things can almost be twisted and contorted accordingly. With his view, I think that's a tough one for him to give. Either way, if it goes against you, you can understand it. If it goes with you, you can understand it. We just had one the previous week, a handball one, as you know, against West Brom that wasn't given. I said afterwards I was disappointed in it, and we moved on.
The fourth incident is the one that seems to have hit most of the headlines over the weekend, and that's the tackle by Ashley on Matic, just about 69th minute, I think it was.
I said after the game, my instant impression of it was that coming together at an unusual angle. Ashley Barnes tries to play the ball. This is my initial impression. Ashley Barnes tries to play the ball down to Dave Jones, who's behind him. His momentum and his pendulum motion of his leg swings up through the ball. And unfortunately, Matic is late arriving on the scene. Not in a vicious way, by the way, I must make that clear, but he's late getting there, in which case his leg then pendulums through and hits him on the shin. I thought that happened at the time. Now, I need to make this clear. Please, everyone who can listen to this interview, please look at the reaction from a bunch of expert footballers on the Chelsea side and on the Burnley side, but the Chelsea side, the likes of John Terry, a real warrior and a top-class professional in my opinion, Zuma, big strong boys, Ivanovic, right on top of this moment. Jose Mourinho, similar view to me. The crowd behind me, circa 15,000. No one reacts. No one reacts. Live time, no one reacts. Apart from Matic. Now, my point to this is at live time, you've got to remember, a referee has a chance at live speed time. No one reacts. In fact, if you look at the footage, when the camera pans back to Jose Mourinho and his assistant, they're calmly talking about what they should do. Now, after the event, with hindsight, with camera views, with slow-mo, now it's brought out where statements like criminal tackle or to the like are being used. I find that hard to adjust to when live at that moment, 15,000-ish people behind me, their expert staff, because they are all experts in their field, including a high-quality manager, and most of all the players on a football pitch. Now, I've played all of my life, I've been in football all of my life. When moments like that occur, it is very rare that there's not a reaction within the stadium to that moment. Live time. I need to exaggerate that point because it's important. Now, after the event, when you then slow-mo, re-angle, change, of course it looks an ugly challenge, but the ball is still made contact with. The motion of the player is at high speed, the pendulum motion of a player. Now, I don't know the biomechanics of that moment humanly. I don't know that. I'm not an expert in that. But what I'd suggest is once you're in that pendulum motion to play a pass, I think it's very difficult to then retract your leg immediately and stop your leg from going through that ball and then rising. But I must make it clear, when you see it then, after the event, slow-mo re-angle, of course it doesn't look a pleasant challenge. We all know that. But at live speed, these are expert people who have been in the game a long time who don't react, don't even flinch to that moment, other than Matic's response to that moment. So, real tough one. Live time, I find it hard to believe that all of these people who have now come out, especially the manager, using very, very strong phrases about that moment, didn't have any reaction at all at that live moment. I find that a hard one to accept at that live moment. I must make that clear. And then after the fact, we can all slow-mo, we can all re-angle. Things often look different after the event when you've got all the technology that you've got.
A couple more points on that one. The first thing would be, it's been mentioned as a tackle widely over the weekend, but it's actually, as you suggest, it's the aftermath of a pass.
You can clearly see, particularly with the camera angles, when they reverse the view, Dave Jones is dead in line with where the ball's going. Ashley Barnes tries to play through the ball to get it to Dave Jones, in my opinion, and on evidence of the camera angle from the reverse view.
Those are the four incidents we talked about. There's another incident that happened later in the game where Jason Shackle appeared to be quite annoyed at a challenge on him.
Yeah, the ball, I mean, it's a strange situation, and one we can only look at an oversight, on Jose and his team's part is just before the incident, Ben Mee goes up for a header and gets rounded over, naturally, so no foul, but just goes over the top of someone, lands heavily on his ribs. They then play on, he's suffering, trying to get on with the game because it's obviously late in the game, it's important, tries to get on with it. The ball then goes over the top, Jason Shackle's guiding it to Tom Heaton, and Ben Mee and him are doing what defenders do and trying to guide it back to the keeper. There's then quite obvious contact made by Costa on the back of Jason Shackle's legs. We have to make sure that there's balance to this situation. After that, our keeper then, because Ben Mee goes down, whilst that's gone on, rolls the ball out of play inside of the 18-yard line to allow our physio to come on and administer treatment to our player. Usually that ball now comes back into the goalkeeper and then play resumes. On this occasion, it must have been an oversight. I can only put it down to that. Chelsea actually played on, threw it in, and tried to attack us to try and obviously score a goal. Now I'll accept it if it is an oversight, but I think the protocol suggests that that's not the correct fashion because usually that then gets thrown back to the keeper. Now, I must make it clear, if there was any thought that we were trying to slow the game down or waste time, there's a couple of key factors. The first one being, why would our keeper roll it out along the 18-yard line? In fact, deep of the 18-yard line, to allow them to then play on in an advanced position. If he was trying to waste time, surely we'd be advising him to kick it out of the pitch 70 yards away or throw it out the pitch on the halfway line if we thought there was any other and they would throw it back to him and we just carry on with the game. The other thing is we're 11 against 10 men fighting for the chance to go and win at Chelsea, which is not an easy thing to do. So I couldn't work that out. We'll have to view them two things as an oversight on Chelsea's part that these things didn't come to light. But as the video will suggest, you know, to bring balance to the whole feel of the game, then I think they have to be recognised. And beyond that, we must remember, madly it seems a shame we have to talk about this, it was a fine game of football, I thought, against two teams for different reasons, working very hard to win a football match. And it's a shame that these things have all got in the way of that.